This week on the Comics Place New This Week, we're going to talk about comics that are new...
This week.
This week.
Django, what'd you read this week, buddy?
Well, I read Avengers of the Wastelands.
Good, because I didn't.
By Ed Brisson and Jonas Scharf. This is... I think it is kind of a sequel to Dead Man Logan. I thought it was a sequel to Old Man Logan. And so I didn't finish Dead Man Logan. I was a little bit confused because of my preconceptions, but I like the story quite a bit. It's set in the future, kind of in an Old Man Logan sort of wastelands, and it's people getting the Avengers team back together to fight Doom.
I've heard that it takes place right after Old Man Logan becomes Dead Man Logan.
I believe that. In that
he's just recently died.
Yeah, there were a couple of references to Dead Man Logan that I picked up on the fly. But the ending shot is really pretty awesome.
Okay.
I'm going to show you. I'm not going to show them.
I'm into that.
It's cool.
So he's still around. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's got a really cool Thor.
Okay.
She's super badass.
Does it? So you would say you don't feel like you need to have read Dead Man Logan because...
I think you need a passing interest in the Marvel Universe, and you could dig this comic.
Okay, that's Django to a T.
Yep.
Okay, well, passing interest in the Marvel Universe aside, Olympia, number 3.
Uh-huh.
So you read 1 and 2, because Roman and I were both pretty excited about 1 and 2.
Yeah.
This is my favorite issue of it by far.
I read the first page while we were setting up.
This is even more a comic for comic people than the last two were. It follows the creator of the Olympian character up until the point we saw him at the end of the second issue where he was about to kill himself. And it is just all about, it's like a Matt Fraction looking guy going to talk to a Jack Kirby guy who was his mentor, he was doing background art for. There's this great conversation in here about like comics don't break your heart, kids, people do.
Right.
Which is... So they talk a lot about Jack Kirby, and the character's name is Kirby, and he goes to hang out with this guy named Spiegelman, who is clearly Jack Kirby, but it's all names and references to comic book figures.
Oh,
but it
awesome.
Also is just about how comics break your heart, and what Jack Kirby meant by when he said that, and how creators are so consistently taken advantage of.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know that it's like the most fun romp, but if you have a passing interest in comic book history or comic book lore or the people who made it or the things that have happened problematically with Marvel and DC and rights and creators not getting paid, it really elucidates that stuff. I loved it from that perspective, and it's a love letter to Kirby, but also a little bit of a way to get to know Kirby.
Did you read Bad Weekend, the criminal?
No,
the 3 or 4 issue.
But I was thinking about Bad Weekend and the Chaykin one.
Yeah, both like
Hey Kids comics,
fictional historical comic book stories.
And I think I would like Hey Kids comics. This one is a little bit more surface level, like hey, you can. Whereas Hey Kids comics was a little bit more like you had to work a little bit harder, I think, to understand who the characters were.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
But,
Ice Cream Man.
Okay.
Number 17.
You asked me this morning, Jeff, did you read this? Did you like it? And I said, leave me alone. We're not going to talk about this yet.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, obviously I liked it, because it's like panel for panel a reproduction of All-Star Superman.
Yeah, but dark.
Yeah, super dark, but it's, I know the first 2 issues of All-Star Superman cover to cover, so I at some point just had to like turn to Sam and say, like, Sam, look at this is a reference to this page, this is a reference to this page, that's a reference to JLA, the graphic novel, that's cover 6, like, and just like Kirby art all over. That was a theme of this week of comics to me, was like, things meta-referencing other comic books. It was present in a lot of the things that I read, but this was, I think it's going to be for a lot of people, but it was so up Jeff's alley. It was terrifying. Like, this was the page that did it. I was like, Sam, this is an exact reproduction of Frank Quitely's Fortress of Solitude.
But with Ice Cream Man stuff.
Exactly, and this artist is so clearly inspired by Frank Quitely to me. It's just so beautiful to see it all on the page.
I was real excited to have an issue that references almost every single other issue of Ice Cream Man, but in a way that still, you don't need it.
Right.
You could have forgotten everything that's come before, and this would be a self-contained piece.
I keep saying it. I don't know what this series was going to be, but I'm so glad that it is this far in, and at 17 issues, it's doing one of the best issues it's done yet.
Yeah.
Like, that's top 3
Every
for that
time.
series for me.
Every time,
Up
man.
there. Yeah. All right, you read Detective Comics Annual.
I did, and it's dealing with Batman's and like Bruce's fallout of Alfred dying, being killed, and if the cover alone isn't worth the price of entry, the Eduardo Risso backup story in here is just spectacular. It's year 1 from Alfred's perspective, so it's Alfred cleaning up Bruce's wounds and fixing his suit over and over as things happen in year 1.
To get Risso doing an alternate viewpoint of year 1 is awesome, because there's not many people more like Mazzucchelli than Risso.
Yeah, it's really fabulous, and the main story is pretty solid. Also, it's basically just Alfred used to be an MI6 agent, and so it's Bruce dealing with an old beef that Alfred had.
How do you feel about the Alfred being an MI6 agent?
I don't love it.
Me neither.
But it's a thing that counts now, and it tells you why he's able to sew Bruce up and be so helpful all the time. Like
I'll choose to be blind about it.
Yeah, he was an actor who was then recruited by MI6 and then called away to caretake for the Waynes.
So is that particularly good for the backup story, or you like the main one as well?
The backup story and the cover are my favorite parts. The main story is solid. I mean, Tomasi doesn't usually do bad issues.
Right.
So like base level, solid. And then the backup is probably one of my favorite 8-page.
I'm excited to check out that backup.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both read Hawkeye Freefall #2, Matthew Rosenberg and Otto Schmidt, and you said you wanted to talk about it.
This was way funnier than the first one to me.
I liked it a lot more than the first one.
Yeah.
And I liked the first one a lot. The art makes a lot of sense here, and I think it was kind of confusing in the first issue. Like, what is this art? Because I love Otto Schmidt, but it is a different style for him.
Yeah. Why are you arting like this?
What became really apparent to me in writing this is I'm really glad Matthew Rosenberg has had a chance to write a lot of series, because I think he's getting better.
Yeah.
And one thing that is also present in his writing is his influence and love for Brian Bendis is very present in this issue. Not too much, but all of the banter doesn't sound like Bendis, but
It's got a Bendis cadence kind of.
Yeah, and it allows itself to be indulgent in the ways that Bendis allows himself to be indulgent, and I really liked that stuff.
I thought that the setup of him being shot at behind a car and talking to Luke Cage was awesome. I thought the stuff with him and Tony Stark was really funny and good. And the cliffhanger, like, I didn't expect that at all. And also, I didn't expect to really care.
I agree. The one thing I'm waiting for in this book is it's hitting kind of all of the knots that I wanted to hit. I'm waiting for it to go from comedy to like heartfelt. There's going to be some moment, and that's the thing I consider like Bendis very good at, is to go from a silly moment to like a super raw moment. And I think that Rosenberg can do that, and I think that this series is setting that up really well to have a really tender or just like vulnerable moment with Clint, and we haven't had it yet, but it's coming.
I think it's important to not compare this to some of the other Hawkeye stuff that's come before, because it's such a different thing, and I'm in. Like, this issue sold me. I'm going to get the rest of the series.
I would rather spend time with this Clint than like the Fraction Clint.
Oh,
but
yeah,
again,
that was a dink.
Yeah, and not comparing them, but this is sort of, I think, the best 2 issues of tone that I've gotten from a Hawkeye series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to people about it today.
Well, there's a bunch of other comics that came out. You just have to listen to the podcast.
Yep, listen to the
Perfectly
podcast.
Acceptable podcasts by the Comics Place.
Yeah.
And hear about those.
All right, buddy. Well, let's open this bird up. What do you think?
Caw.
Caw. To the door.
To the door. The bird door. The